Have you ever started something important only to watch weeks turn into months with no visible results? Have you ever worked hard in silence while others around you succeeded loudly? Have you ever whispered to God, "Why is it taking so long?" If you have ever felt this, then this story is for you. Because sometimes the greatest harvests come from the coldest winters. Once, in a small farming village nestled between rolling hills and quiet rivers, there lived a man named Samuel. Samuel was a farmer, not wealthy, not famous, but known for his quiet faith and steady hands. He believed that the land would give back whatever patience and care you offered it. Every year, the village farmers followed the same pattern. They planted in spring, when the earth was warm and the rains were gentle. They worked through summer, and by autumn, they harvested golden crops that filled their barns and fed their families. Samuel did the same, year after year. His life moved with the rhythm of the seasons, and he thanked God for every harvest. But one year, something changed. The rains did not come in spring. The summer sun burned too hot, and by autumn, the fields stood empty and dry. The entire village suffered. Crops failed, families struggled, and as winter approached, fear settled over the town like heavy fog.
The farmers gathered and made a decision. "We will not plant this winter," they said. "The ground is too hard. The season is too cold. We must wait for spring." But Samuel felt something different. Deep inside, a quiet voice whispered, "Plant now." He stood at the edge of his frozen field, seeds in his hands, and asked himself, "Am I hearing God or just my own foolish hope?" That night, Samuel prayed, "God, everyone says to wait, but my heart says to plant. If this is you, give me courage. If this is me, give me wisdom to stop." He fell asleep with peace in his chest, and when he woke the next morning, the feeling had not left, it had grown stronger. Without telling anyone, Samuel walked to his field. The ground was frozen, the wind was bitter, but he knelt down, dug into the hard earth, and began to plant. Neighbors saw him and whispered, "Samuel has lost his mind. He's wasting precious seeds. Winter will kill everything." But Samuel did not argue. He simply smiled and said, "I am planting in faith, not in sight." Weeks passed. Snow covered Samuel's field. Nothing could be seen above the ground. And while other farmers rested, Samuel woke every morning, looked at his frozen field, and thanked God for what he could not yet see. People mocked him. "Where is your harvest, Samuel?" they would ask, and he would reply calmly, "It is growing beneath what you cannot see." Then, slowly, winter began to soften. The snow melted, the sun warmed the earth, and one morning, something appeared. Tiny green shoots pushing through the soil, standing bright and alive. The villagers came and stared. They could not believe what they were seeing. "How is this possible?" they asked. "You planted in winter." Samuel smiled and said, "I planted in winter so I could harvest in spring. While you waited for perfect conditions, I trusted God with the impossible ones." Weeks passed, and while the other farmers were just beginning to plant, Samuel's crops were already tall, strong, and nearly ready. When harvest time came, Samuel's field overflowed. Golden grain, heavy and ripe, filled his barns beyond measure. The other farmers were still waiting for their first crops to grow, while Samuel was already feeding his family, sharing with neighbors, and selling in the market. An old man from the village came to him and asked, "Samuel, how did you know it would work?" Samuel looked at the golden field and said, "I didn't know it would work, but I knew who I trusted." Faith is not about seeing the hardest before you plant. Faith is planting, even when winter tells you it's impossible.
From that season forward, Samuel became known not just as a farmer, but as a man of great faith, and his story spread far beyond the village. So, my friend, are you like Samuel? Are you holding seeds, afraid to plant because the season looks wrong? Are you waiting for perfect conditions before you trust God with your dreams? Remember this: faith does not wait for proof. Faith plants in winter, trusting that spring will come. Your waiting is not wasted. Your winter is not punishment, it is preparation. So plant your seeds, trust the process, and know that God sees even when the ground is frozen, because the harvest always comes to those who plant in faith. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more stories that inspire faith, patience, and purpose.